Shabbat Shalom Yasharallah. We are in week 7 of the gospel portion, covering chapters 13 and 14 of Matthew. Keeping that same pattern, 2 chapters a week, regardless. Let's open up with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you. Shabbat Shalom to you and the heavenly bodies. Thank you for allowing us to join you. Thank you for giving us this day of rest, of set apartness, and devotion to keep your law, statutes, and commandments. And we ask you to align us with your word, give us the eyes to see and ears to hear in the Ruach on this blessed day. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Amen. All right, week 7. This is our purple of the rainbow, the last color of the rainbow before it recycles back on our color wheel here on the gospel portion cover pages. And like I said, Matthew 13, verse 1, all the way through chapter 14, verse 36. We have the chapter full of parables, Matthew 13. Let's listen to Yasha's parables. First parable will be from verse 1 all the way through 23. Let's begin.
Matthew 13. The same day went Jesus out of the house and sat by the seaside. And great multitudes were gathered together unto him, so that he went into a ship and sat. And the whole multitude stood on the shore. And he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, a sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, Why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart, and should be converted, and I should heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received a seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that received a seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that received seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word, and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, some 30.
Man, these parables are deep. I love it. Messiah just coming out with straight fire. All right. Let me see here. So, wow, this is all one big parable. Obviously, in the middle, he's talking with his disciples, but this is all the parable of the sower from really 3 to 23 with some conversation in the middle. All right, so before we get into the parable of the sower, which Messiah breaks down himself, but just want to make something very clear. When he speaks in parables over and over again, already, I think this is maybe the third time I'm mentioning it in the book of Matthew, that he has said something like this: who has ears to hear, let him hear. Every time he speaks like that, he is speaking of the Spirit. Blessed are they that have eyes to see, ears to hear. Every time he says that, it's because he's speaking in the Ruach. And only those that's walking in the Ruach will understand him, which is exactly why when he answers his disciples, therefore I speak to them in parables, because they see and see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand, because he is speaking spirit, and they are of a carnal mind. And just giving understanding for verse 12, for whoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever have not, from him shall be taken away even that he has. So obviously this is talking about everything is of the Spirit. So if you're thinking carnally of possessions of this world, it's going to go right over your head, because all of this is talking spiritual treasures, spiritual enlightenment, wisdom, etc. And then he quotes from Isaiah. And Isaiah, I mean, what better verse to quote when he's asked the question on why he speaks in parables? By hearing ye shall hear and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see and not perceive. Oh my goodness, just as deep as it goes. And just for reference, this verse is Isaiah chapter 6, verse 9 through 10. Let me see. Yeah, that's correct. Thought it was. So that's Isaiah 6. And I'm not going to cross-reference. Yes, my beautiful wife, Amy. When he says, those that have ears, let them hear, he is speaking spirit for spiritual understanding. And I'm not doing a cross-reference with the other two books of Mark. Just for your reference, of the sower is in Mark chapter 4, 1 through 20, and in the book of Luke chapter 8, verses 4 through 15. I didn't do any cross-references because they're all really about the same. And this is a pretty long parable, and I didn't see enough to do a cross-reference with them. Just throwing that out there. Yes, this is what goes on with everyone, even people that's in the so-called Torah community. See people falling left and right for just anything and any doctrine. Yeah. All right. But we look we have 4 stages here I wanted to go over. We have 4 stages. We see here that seeds. All right. I just want to go over the 4. I just want to go over the 4 stages and the meaning of it one more time. Behold, a sower went forth to sow, and when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside. So wayside is like the road. Let me see what the ESV says. Fell along the path. Yeah, like the beaten path, like somewhere where things don't grow. A road, a path where things don't grow, pretty much. And then it says some fowls came and devoured them up. And some upon stony places, so upon rocks, where they had not much earth. And forthwith they sprung up because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched because they had no root. They withered away. So no foundation of the truth right here. And some fell among thorns, and thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground and brought forth fruit. Some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. And now I'm just going to jump to the end of it now, because we have a lot of dialogue in the middle. So I wanted to read the main sower and then its meaning. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understands it not, like I said, no foundation, then cometh the wicked one and catches away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside, the path, the road. But he that receives the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receives it. Yet has he not root in himself, no foundation, but endureth for a little while. For when tribulation and persecution arise because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, in the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. And we see that is marked by thorns. And the last one, but he that receives seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understands it. This is why we're doing Torah portions, gospel portions, because if you don't have a bedrock that is solid, you could be on the wrong side of these parables. Which also bears fruit and brings forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60, and some 30. Pretty straightforward. Messiah makes it pretty clear. Just wanted to go over it more some. And then I also wanted to look at verse 18 and 19 in the Hebrew translation of Matthew 13. 18 and 19. Let's read how this reads. Therefore, you must hear the parable of him who sows. He who sows is the preacher. I mean, that could be you, me, anybody. That's a disciple spreading the word. So this is the sower. And the seed is the word of Hayah. All right. He who hears the word of Hayah, but does not understand it. Excuse me. But does not understand it. Hasatan comes and uproots it from his heart. But this is the seed that fell close to the road. And so on. We went over the rest. I really wanted to touch on these two. He who sows is the preacher, and the seed is the word of Hayah. That's the two things that I wanted to mention that wasn't mentioned in the regular canon. The cross-reference chapter for the sower was Luke chapter 8, verse 4 through 15. And Mark 4, 1 through 20, if you're asking a reference with the sower. All right. All right, so that's the parable of the sower. He had 4 different groups. Fell on the road in a rocky area, amongst thorns, or in the ground, the dirt, where the seed can grow and blossom appropriately. Be on the right side of the parables and Bible prophecy. All of it has to do with understanding and being disciplined to his commandments. All right, now we're doing the tares, the wheat, the infamous, the wheat and the tares parable. 24 through 30. And this parable actually isn't explained all the way until verse 36. And there's a few little parables in between it. So we'll cross-reference when we get there.
Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn.
All right, like I said, the rest of this parable isn't explained until Matthew 13, verse 36. But this parable reminds me of when he's talking about grabbing up the tares to burn them. Well, this is all throughout the Bible, but I'm just going to bring up 2nd Ezra chapter 16, the end of it. So obviously, we have the wheat and the tares, the righteous and the wicked. But this is at the very bottom right here, y'all. I'm going to read verse 74 through 78. Hear, my elect, says the Adon, behold, the days of tribulation are at hand, and I will deliver you from them. Do not fear or doubt, for Elohim is your guide. You who keep my commandments and precepts, says the Adon Elohim, do not let your sins pull you down or your iniquities prevail over you. Woe to those who are choked by their sins and overwhelmed by their iniquities. As a field is choked with underbrush, and we could be talking about tares here, and its path overwhelmed with thorns. Just read what the meaning of thorns are. So that no one can pass through. It is shut off and given up to be consumed by fire. So he came and judged the world with water the first time, as in the days of Noah. This time when he comes, he will be judging the world by fire. Hence all the parables that has to do with exactly that, being consumed by fire. But his people will be like precious gold and silver, which is refined by fire. The wicked will be burned like brush and tares. All right, so we have a few very small parables, and then Messiah we'll get back to the tares parable here. All right, so we have the mustard seed.
Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed, which a man took, and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof.
All right, that's one parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a grain of a mustard seed. Something small can be turned into something big that many can lodge and find shelter within. And we are going to look at the Hebrew real quick. Am I right? Yeah. Hebrew translation, verse 32. Let me see what this has. The kingdom of heavens is like the mustard seed that a man plants in his field, which is smaller than all the seed vegetables. Yeah, that's the thing. It just worded. It's telling you that it's the smallest of the seed vegetables. Because I think there was somebody that was saying like mustard seed isn't the smallest seed, like the scripture tries to say. But I think the context is they're saying a seed vegetable that becomes a tree. It's saying that it's the smallest of a certain type of seeds, not just any type of seed, like a seed vegetable that becomes a tree. In other words, the smallest seed that can become a tree is a mustard seed, if I am saying that correctly. But when it grows up, is bigger than all the seed vegetables and becomes a tree. Big enough that birds may rest and stay in his branches. And that's what I'm saying. It's bigger than all the seeds in his category, so much that it becomes a tree. And the tree is so big that birds may rest and stay in his branches. So just for context, because I've heard that before, and you gotta put it in understanding. Exactly. I agree, Kevin. The if you're taking from the actual seed to its full potential, from the size of its seed to the potential of the growth of it, is enough to say what Messiah said, obviously. And he would know way more than someone like me would know about seeds and all of the plants and whatnot. All right, so now we're going to compare these two verses. This is the one that we're going to compare in our parable cross-reference. The mustard seed. So understanding that we talked about in the very first gospel portion that it seems like the way Matthew was written, he is talking directly to the Jews. The way Mark is written, it's in layman's terms for Gentiles, those that are new to the faith. And then Luke is talking to his dearest, his elect, his bride. So we just read Matthew, and I just want to highlight that, like I said, this is to his Jews. And he says the mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field. And I think that's interesting, because if it's written to the Jews, we're going to see that it's not really written like that in the rest of these gospels. That his field is the idea of his people. Like the mustard seed is going to be like in Israel, his field. And then we reading in Mark, which this is a new line, which is kind of similar to Luke. And he said, whereunto shall we liken the kingdom of Elohim, or with what comparison shall we compare it? So he's making it clear that he's trying to make a comparison for the Gentiles that are unlearned here. It is like a grain of mustard seed, which when it is sown in the earth, like I said, look how interesting this is. His field, like his people in Israel, is sown in the earth, talking to the nations, which is the literal meaning of Gentile, is nation. I don't think that's a coincidence at all that now this parable is sown in the earth, all the earth. And then it goes on to say something, I'll read the rest, is less than all the seeds that be in the earth. But when it is sown, it groweth up and becometh greater than all herbs, and shooteth out great branches, so that the fowls of the air may lodge under the shadow of it. And then we have the elect and the bride in Luke. Then said he, unto what is the kingdom of Elohim like? Whereunto shall I resemble it? It is like a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and cast it into his garden. Now, isn't this more intimate than a field? Absolutely. A field is a field. A field can be acres big. A garden, not so much. This is much more intimate. And grew and waxed a great tree, and the fowls of the air lodged in the branches of it. I feel like the short mustard seed parable of just speaking of his field sown in the earth in his garden really do fit right into these categories that the Gospels are, supposedly written in. All right. On to the next one, the yeast. 33 through 35, or 11.
Another parable spake he unto them. The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took, and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables. And without a parable spake he not unto them, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world.
All right. This is I forgot to add this. This is in the book of Psalms. He is quoting from. That it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundations of the world. And you know what? Let me add that real quick. Verse. That is Psalms. Anybody get that verse for me? Let me make sure I get the right verse. Always like to get my references. This is Psalms 38. I mean, my bad. Excuse me. Psalms 78, verses 2 through 3. Is where Messiah is quoting from in verse 35 of Matthew 13. All right. I like having my references. All right. We have the parable of the leaven. Let's go into Luke. Oh. Excuse me. Messing up here. All right. Luke 13. Again, he said, whereunto shall I liken the kingdom of Elohim? It is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. That's just a precept of this. Oh my goodness, I did have the parable here. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at the wrong part of my sheet. Here we go. I already had it. Psalm 78. Oops. Excuse me. I am looking wrong. I will open my mouth in parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generations to come the praises of Hayah and his strength in his wonderful works that he has done. All right, so that's what Messiah was quoting from in verse 35, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables. All right, now looking at the right thing, let me make sure here. All right, and we're going to go back to Second Esdras for the leaven parable. Second Esdras was just on my mind for some reason in Matthew 13. We're going to go to chapter 8, verse 1 for the leaven. And it reads, He answered me and said, the Most High made this world for the sake of many, but the world to come for the sake of few. And I'm going to tell you why that this reminds me of this parable. It's very short and sweet. This world is for the sake of many. The world to come is for the sake of few. So now let's go back to the parable. The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. He is not coming for the many. He's coming for the few. Leaven is usually used in a lesson with the week of unleavened bread, obviously, and leaven is usually used as something of wickedness, malice. A little bit of leaven will leaven the whole lump, right? You don't let no wicked in. But in this parable, it's used remotely into as a good reference here. And what he's saying is that heaven only needs a little bit of leaven. Just like if you ever make dough, you can make a good amount. I'm not sure what 3 measures of meal means, but you can make a good amount of bread with just one little packet of yeast, one little packet of leaven. And that is exactly what he's coming here to do. The kingdom of heaven will be fully fulfilled with the few. He only needs a few to leaven the whole lump. All right, let's continue. Now we're back to the tares explained. So verse 24 through 30 will be explained in verse 36. Let's read.
Then Jesus sent the multitude away and went into the house. And his disciples came unto him, saying, Declare unto us the parable of the tares of the field. He answered and said unto them, He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear.
Spiritual understanding. Every time he says that, he's saying this is Ruach. And we hear there is a huge, by no coincidence, a huge parable of the harvest found within the book of Revelation. Because he's saying, as therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be at the end of this world. And Revelation is the last book of all books. So of course it will be brought up in the book of Revelation that there will be a massive harvest. But before that, I do have a precept for context understanding, or I guess a cross-reference with the Hebrew translation for the entirety of it. So let's read it in the Hebrew translation, and then we'll look at that precept in the reference in Revelation. All right, we're going to read this whole parable in the Hebrew, 17 through 43. So he answered and said, he who sows good seed is the son of the virgin. So it's making it clear that he's talking about Messiah himself, right? He who sows good seed is the son of the virgin. The field is the world, and the good seed are the righteous ones. But the thistles are the evil ones, and the enemy who sows them is Hasatan. And the time of the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the messengers, the angels. Let's continue through 43. For like a man who gathers the thistles and burns them, so it will be at the end of the world. The son of Elohim will send his messengers, angels, all the stumbling blocks in the kingdom, and the evil ones he will place in the fire of Gehenna, and there will be weeping and trembling of teeth. Then the righteous ones will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whosoever has ears to hear, let him obey. Ooh. Some translations just hit different. Whoever has an ear, let him obey. I like it. Let me see what this, all the stumbling blocks. Let me see what this is. Those who cause to stumble. Yeah, those who cause others to stumble. All right. And so now we take this understanding from the tares parable, and we go to the book of Revelation 14 through 15. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the son of Elohim, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. Woo! That parable hits. And that's just one little verse right there. I mean, man, it's all throughout Revelation. It's all throughout the canon. Just like how the marriage is written of the Lamb is written all throughout the canon. The parable of the harvest is written all throughout the canon. I mean, these are full studies. Full studies. All right. Let me make sure we are good. Yes. Okay, let's continue. We're going to Matthew 44 through 46.
Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in a field, the which when a man hath found, he hideth, and for joy thereof goeth, and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man seeking goodly pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had, and bought it.
And that's what it is, Yasharallah. Ain't that what happened when we came to the truth? What we do? We stopped everything that what we were doing, and little by little, we were like, yo, I'll sell what I have. Whatever I need to do to hold on to this precious jewel, right? That you've been searching for, that brings you so much joy. You know what this reminds me of? My precious. But this is the reference, because the Lord of the Rings literally is the Lord of the Rings, Saturn. And you know that you have to go destroy it at that all-seeing eye thing, right? I forget the name of the places, but this is what happens, Smeagol. This is what happens when you hold on to precious to what the devil gives to you in this life. That is what this being represents, because if you watch The Lord of the Rings, this is not what he used to look like. He used to look like a regular hobbit, but he morphed into this really weird looking demonic, in a way, malnourished thing. And this is what the inside of people's ruachs look like that are after the riches of this world. We are the opposite. When we hold my precious of the kingdom, we find the kingdom and we're like, this is what's precious and dear to us. It does the opposite. Just I thought was a funny reference to make, but it's very true. Very true. So in other words, always remind yourself, what are you holding precious to you every day in everything that you do? Everything that you do. Because the devil will take a little sliver of what you're struggling with, and he will maximize it and, turn your life into turmoil just off of one little factor that you struggle with. So in everything that you do, what are you holding to be your precious? All right, we're gonna go ahead. We got what? One more parable here. Let's get it.
Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a net that was cast into the sea, and gathered of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore, and sat down, and gathered the good into vessels, but cast the bad away. So shall it be at the end of the world. The angel shall come forth, and sever the wicked from among the just, and shall cast them into the furnace of fire. There shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Jesus saith unto them, Have ye understood all these things? They say unto him, Yea, Lord. Then said he unto them, Therefore every scribe which is instructed unto the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is an householder, which bringeth forth out of his treasure things new and old. And it came to pass that when Jesus had finished these parables, he departed thence. And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, Whence hath this man this wisdom and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brethren James and Joseph and Simon and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Whence then hath this man all these things? And they were offended in him. But Jesus said unto them, A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country and in his own house. And he did not many mighty works there, because of their unbelief.
I think it's unbelievable how it specifically says that they say, Which has this man this wisdom and these mighty works? So they make notice of the mighty works and wisdom that has been bestowed upon them, upon him, and they didn't care. Ain't nothing new under the sun. It doesn't matter how much wisdom you can have for some folks. I think all of us that has been in the truth long enough can have wisdom that you try to give to someone, and then they'll be like, who are you? Right? Because you're not in a position that of a person that they want to look up to. They can look up to their favorite celebrity and be at the edge of their seat to everything that someone else has to say on television or whoever they look up to in life. But the Most High has given you the wisdom of the kingdom, but they will still look down on you, even if you sound like you got it all together. Sounds like you can answer the questions, that all the questions that they have, but it's because it's coming from you, they will not hear it. So true. I know I feel it. Family, friends, they'll shut you down immediately because you're not in the position that they want you to be in for them to look at you like that. And that is Matthew 13. All right. Matthew 14. Let's do it.
Matthew 14. At that time Herod the Tetrarch heard of the fame of Jesus, and said unto his servants, This is John the Baptist, he is risen from the dead, and therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. For Herod had laid hold on John, and bound him, and put him in prison for Herodias' sake, his brother Philip's wife. For John said unto him, It is not lawful for thee to have her. And when he would have put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them, and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here John Baptist's head in a charger. And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, for the oath's sake, and them which sat with him at meat, he commanded it to be given her. And he sent, and beheaded John in the prison. And his head was brought in a charger, and given to the damsel, and she brought it to her mother. And his disciples came, and took up the body, and buried it, and went and told Jesus.
All right. We see John the Baptist beheaded as those that will be beheaded for his name's sake in the book of Revelation. And we just touched on this. I think Shekinah mentioned this today when we did the Torah portion, that we just touched on the charger, which is like a fancy plate. And that was made in the book of Numbers. It was spoken for, that was made for the tabernacle. And here they have John the Baptist's head on a fancy plate. That being said, we see that all of this was made possible for a party that was for a so-called Edomite king of King Herod. So, unrighteous pagan king in verse 6 here. But when Herod's birthday was kept, so that's when all of this would happen and made all of it possible, was because of a stupid birthday party, right? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about birthdays. Well, we got the Edomite king Herod celebrating his birthday, and let's go to the only and other reference of a birthday in the scriptures is in Genesis 40 verse 20. And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. So two unrighteous individuals in the canon are the only ones that had a feast and celebrated their birthday. Take note in that. That should, make you feel some type of way if you are still doing exactly that. And when you look into the Satanic Bible, and this is literally from their website, the Church of Satan website. So if you look in here, it talks about it, or you could just go to their website like I did. Talk about the holidays. Since Satanism is a self-centered religion, the highest holiday of the year would be the Satanist's own birthday, which needs no ritual but should be spent in doing things a Satanist would enjoy. So it tells you right here, do it, participating in, you're doing a birthday party for yourself, is self-centered. I mean, could it be more clear? They say it's a self-centered religion, which means the highest holiday is your birthday. I mean, makes sense to me. Makes sense that Job curses the day that he was born because everybody is born. That's not anything to be celebrating. Whoop-de-doo. Nothing to celebrate about that. Anyone can do that. Everyone that has done that, that is alive, and that's a person. And it took no effort from you other than your parents doing a deed. And yeah. So if you're still struggling with birthdays, I understand you're dealing with family and whatnot, but at least control your time. Tell people you don't want to do your day. If your family, your friends, even your children, if they're older, even your spouse, if they don't, but at least control your day. Don't allow your day to be a day that is celebrated. That's the biggest thing for me. And when we talking about birthdays, you can acknowledge your birthday. And someone, you have people that ask me like, well, can I go out to eat? And I'm just like, if you're going, it's not like you can't like do things on the day. It's not saying it's my birthday, I gotta make sure I don't do nothing. You can like be normal, live life. But if you're throwing a party and if you're having a feast and you're having a gathering and you're saying, bring me presents or come and associate around me because it's my day, I believe that's the bedrock of the problem, is that when you organize things that's all about you. But you can go out to eat any day. Why are you waiting for your birthday to go out? That's just me. And just like I put on my post this year, not half of everybody, well, if you pagan, you be on a pagan calendar, but people celebrating their birthdays on the wrong calendar. It's a made up calendar. For you to celebrate your birthday on a Gregorian calendar, if you are a so-called Christian or anyone that claims they use the Bible, first of all, shouldn't be doing all that on your birthday. And second of all, that's not even your real birthday. The Hebrew calendar houses the day you were really born according to the real clock, which is the luminaries. So just put that into it as well. And then, yes, Riley, you have the whole ritual of birthdays, not just talking about the self-centered events of hosting events that's all about you and the presents, but you have the birthday cake. And we are a light to the world. And what do you do on your birthday? You first light the candles. Then you make a wish. That is paganism. Who are you wishing to? What do they say? Wish upon a star, right? What are stars? Devils, angels. Yes, there's a ritual in the singing of the song of happy birthday. This is all pagan ritual origins of idolatry of that person that day. And they usually, there's some people that have a whole week, a whole weekend, a whole month. And then after you light the candles, you make a wish, people sing happy birthday, and then what do? You blow out your candles. That's a great representation of what that day is about. You're supposed to be a light, but you're going to blow out your light every birthday to remind you that you are a devil. You are a Satan. Because that's what Satanists do. They blow out their candles because they are in darkness and not in light. And I'll just stop at that. There's a lot of things that you can talk about with birthdays, but literally all of it is paganism. You won't find it in the canon as a righteous deed. Only the two wicked, really wicked men, the Pharaoh that was plaguing the Israelites, and King Herod that beheaded John the Baptist. Everything around it is Satanism, paganism, and is darkness. All right. There's my rant with birthdays. I truly very minimally acknowledge my birthday. Nobody gets me anything anymore. I don't want anything. If somebody sends something to me, then so be it. I'm not going to like throw it away. But I'm always going to tell folks, I don't need nothing. I don't want nothing. I'm good. I'm good. And then, I ain't even going to lie. Let me say this. I ain't even going to lie. You could have a parent, you could have someone that is like giving your siblings something good for their birthdays. And you almost like, man, I'm not getting anything, let me ask, I'm just going to ask, let me get something for my birthday just so I can get something. Nah, Abba got me, right? If your mom, your grandmama, whoever is hooking up everybody with birthday presents but you because you don't want to acknowledge your birthday, you better suck it up. Same thing with all these other holidays. If they wait for your birthday and Christmas to give you something nice and they don't want to do it out of the kindness of their heart any other time of the year, and you tell them that you don't do birthdays at Christmas, then so be it. I guess I ain't getting nothing from them no more. I'm a grown man anyway. I don't need it. All right. There's my birthday rant. Stay away from that stuff. The Church of Satan tells you what it's about. It's the most self-centered holiday of the year. All right. And then let me see. We have Mark. Yes. Yes, we're going to read, I think Mark and Luke of the same story has just very slight additions of understanding to this. So we're going to read them both. Mark 6, and King Herod heard of him, for his name was spread abroad. Talking about Messiah. And he said that John the Baptist was risen from the dead. And therefore mighty works do show forth themselves in him. So King Herod thought Messiah was the resurrected John the Baptist. Others said that it is Elijah, and others said that it is a prophet or as one of the prophets. But when Herod heard thereof, he said, it is John whom I beheaded. He is risen from the dead. So I thought that was interesting. This is called having a guilty conscience. That's what that is called. King Herod was having nightmares, and he's like, John the Baptist has risen from the dead. I can't kill him. He was tripping. All right, in the same story in Luke 9, now Herod, being the tetrarch, heard of all that was done by him, and he was perplexed because that it was said of some that John was risen from the dead, and of some, and I think, yeah, it's about the same. Yeah, just another witness of what Mark said, that King Herod was tripping. He was tripping out, thinking it was a resurrected John the Baptist. All right, let's continue in Matthew 14. We're going to read 13 through 21 now.
When Jesus heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Jesus went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages, and buy themselves victuals. But Jesus said unto them, They need not depart. give you them to eat? And they say unto him, We have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. He said, Bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake, and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled, and they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full. And they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children.
All right. We're going to go to John chapter 6 as a cross reference here. 4 through 11 and then 15. So just as a reference, this is right before the Passover, at least in some type of context. I can't remember exactly the actual time frame of this, but I'm reading that part because in this chapter, Passover has something to do with the end of John chapter 6. We'll read John chapter 6, 22 through 71 at the very end. And you'll see that the Passover does have something to do with this chapter, which is why it's mentioned. A feast of the Jews was nigh. When Yasha then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he says unto Philip, Which shall we buy bread, that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennies worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that any one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, says unto him, There is a lad here which has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they amongst so many? And Yasha said, Make the men sit. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat in number about 5,000. And Yasha took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes as many as they would. And Yasha therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force to make him a king. He departed again unto a mountain himself alone. I added verse 15 for this part right here. I thought that was interesting. He kept going away from anybody that would boast in him. He kept pointing to the Father. He's like, when I'm here, I am not a king. When I return, I am, and I will come to conquer. But the first coming was not him being not for him to be a king. So that's a very interesting little verse there. All right, let's finish Matthew 14.
And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship, and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into a mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. And in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand, and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came, and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth, thou art the Son of God. And when they were gone over, they came into the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place had knowledge of him, they sent out into all that country round about, and brought unto him all that were diseased, and besought him that they might only touch the hem of his garment, and as many as touched were made perfectly whole.
The hem of his garment. So verse 36. We see here, over here in another translation, hem can also be fringe. Of course he was wearing tzitzits. Of course he was wearing tassels. He keeps the commandments. So besought him that they might only touch the tassel, the fringe of his garment. All right. And we see the infamous story of Peter coming out to walk with Messiah on water. And when things get hard, he fell in the water. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We all know that walk. And we pray to not go back and to start sinking in that water. We got to reprove ourselves and test our faith daily so we don't start sinking. Keep our eyes on the prize. In verse 25, and in the fourth watch of the night, Yahshua went unto them walking on the sea. And we see in Mark 6:48, and he saw them. I added this because of, you'll see what I mean. He saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about the fourth watch of the night, he cometh unto them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed by them. So I just added here because Yahshua saw that they were struggling in the waters of the storm. And so he went unto them to give them shalom. All right. And now he said the fourth watch. The fourth watch. And in the book of Mark, it breaks down. I took this from one of my calendar studies, going over the watches. The Big Dipper is like a 24-hour clock in the heavens. You can use that depending on the season to time your watches at night. But there is 4 night watches. And it's all mentioned in one verse here nicely for us in Mark 13:35. Watch ye therefore, for ye know not when the master of the house cometh, at evening, the beginning of sundown, at midnight, which we see here. So evening, roughly 6 to 9 p.m. At midnight, the next 3 hours, 9 to midnight, or at the cock crowing, which is 12 to 3 a.m. And then the morning, which is 3 to 6 right before sunrise. So just give it understanding when we're reading. We just read it. What was it? Verse 25. That this happened in the fourth watch. So this happened in the wee time in the morning. This happened, at least in our time reference, 3 to 6 a.m. in the morning, the fourth watch. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, just for understanding there. And all that being said, we're going to finish this gospel portion reading chapter 6 of John, which is parallel, the same story, same time frame as Matthew 14. And we read a little bit of John 6, like I said, up here, and I'm going to connect what Messiah speaks of and why the Passover has everything to do with it. All right, let's get it. 22 to 71. The day following, when the people which stood on the other side of the sea saw that there was none other boat there. So this is right what we just got done reading. John just extends this story. save that one whereunto his disciples were entered, in that Yasha went not with his disciples into the boat, but that his disciples were gone away alone. Howbeit there came other boats from Tiberias, nigh unto the place where they did eat bread, after the Adon had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Yasha was not there, neither his disciples, they also took shipping and came to Capernaum, seeking for Messiah. And when they had found him on the other side of the sea, they said unto him, Rabbi, when camest thou hither? Yasha answered them and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, ye seek me, not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for the meat which endures unto everlasting life. So he's getting into his parable. He's speaking of the Ruach, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him has Elohim the Father sealed. This said they unto him, What shall we do, that we might work the works of Elohim? Yasha answered and said unto them, This is the work of Elohim, that ye believe on him who has sent. They said therefore unto him, What sign showeth thou then, that we may see and believe thee? What does thou work? Our fathers did eat manna in the desert, as it is written, He gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Yasha said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Elohim is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Adon, evermore give us this bread. So we gotta make a clear distinction here. He tells us what real manna is. What is real manna? For the bread of Elohim is he which cometh down from heaven. I mean, oh my goodness. He's comparing himself. They speak of, the Jews speaks of their forefathers receiving manna from heaven. And he's saying that's not the true manna of Elohim, because that manna was temporary. And if you read the book in Exodus, that other than the manna given before the Sabbath, that manna expired every day at the next sunrise. It expired. It was temporary bread. Everything he's about to be speaking on, he's speaking of the Ruach. It's a beautiful thing that he is the true manna that comes down from heaven, because he is the bread of life. Then said they unto him, Adon, evermore give us this bread. And Yasha said unto them, I am the bread of life. Yasha is that true manna. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. But I said unto you, I said unto, where am I at? Excuse me, I lost my place. 1 second. But I said unto you that ye also have seen me and believe not. That all that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no wise cast out. For I came down from heaven, not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will which has sent me, that of all which he has given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. That last great day. The 8th day reference. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life. I will raise him up that last day. The Jews then murmured at him because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven. And they said, is not this Yasha, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he says, I came down from heaven? Messiah therefore answered and said unto them, murmur not among yourselves. No man can come to me except the Father which has sent me draw him. And I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they shall be all taught of Elohim. Every man, therefore, that has heard and has learned of the Father cometh unto me. Not that any man has seen the Father, save he which is of Elohim. He has seen the Father. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me has everlasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. Like, could he make it any more clear? He's telling you that bread fed their physical bodies. I am the bread. I am speaking spiritually. They don't get it though. They keep going back to their carnal mindsets, thinking of the flesh. He's like, they're dead. They're dead. What I speak of is life and spirit. This is the bread which cometh down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of this world. Remember? So this is verse 51. What did I say earlier? What's the purpose of mentioning Passover in the context of this chapter? What is his flesh? That lamb, right? We know he's the bread, but the flesh, he's speaking of Passover, the sacrificial lamb. It's all in the same chapter for a reason. The bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world. The Jews therefore strove among themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Like they're carnal-minded. Then Yasha said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, except ye eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, ye have no life in you. Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood dwelleth in me, and I in him. This is everything that has to do with the Passover feast, right? And keeping his commandments and believing in him to be the sacrificial lamb. That's what all of this is about. But obviously the Jews at this time are not getting it. As the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eateth me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eateth of this bread shall live forever. These things said he in the synagogue, as he taught in Capernaum. Many, therefore, of his disciples, when they had heard this, said, this is an hard saying, a parable, a parable. He's speaking in the spirit. It's exactly what they're talking about right now. And I say this because I've seen people that deny the Messiah use the reference of Messiah talking about eating my flesh and drinking my blood, and they're carnal minded. Even till this day, they still use this scripture to denounce Messiah. It's unbelievable. And they're telling you it's a hard saying, it's spiritual, and who can hear it? Those that's in the Ruach, those that understand the word. When Yasha knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said unto them, does this offend you? What? And if ye shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before? It is the spirit that quickens. That means it is the spirit that gives life. The flesh profits nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit. He's telling you, spiritually, I am the Lamb. I am the Lamb of Elohim, y'all. That's what he's saying. And they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. For Yasha knew from the beginning who they were that believeth not, and who should betray him. And he said, therefore said I unto you, that no man can come unto me, except it were given unto him of my Father. From that time, many of his disciples went back and walked no more with him, because they wasn't walking in the Ruach. They couldn't see. So if there's people that just doesn't walk with you in this walk, it's because of this right here. They don't understand these hard sayings because they are spirit, and it is life, and they have neither. Then said Yasha unto the 12, will ye also go away? Then Simon Peter answered him, Adon, to whom shall we go? Thou hast the words of eternal life, and we believe and are sure that thou art the Mashiach, the Son of the living Elohim. Yasha answered them, have not I chosen the 12, and one of you is a devil? And he spoke of Judas, for it was that should be betray him, be one of the 12. And I wanted to add this, talking about manna, of what I believe we understand what is true manna. Go to Revelation 2:17. We see, he that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Once again, it's all spirit when he speaks like this. To him that overcomes will give to eat of the hidden manna. What do you think the hidden manna is now? Literally, the body of Messiah. What? The hidden manna. Who is the manna? We just read it. It will give him a white stone. Remember, we are precious stones that is a part of New Jerusalem. And in the stone, a new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth. A new name equals a new body and a new walk. That being said, that is the conclusion of week 7 of the gospel portion. Shalom and Baruch, each and every one of you, for joining me. I pray to see y'all next week for chapters 15 and 16.